Thank you for being here with us. Could you tell us your name and what you do in Baltimore?
Sure, I'm Carl Stokes, and currently I'm retired for the most part, but I was a Baltimore City Council person representing the old 12th District, 2nd District, and so now I still am very much involved in the community aspect of the city, and I live in the Charles Village neighborhood, and that's pretty much what I do these days.
Fantastic. Thanks for being here with us. Could you give us some feedback on your thoughts on the Harbor Place redevelopment proposal?
Sure. So going back just a little bit, about 40 years or so ago, when Baltimore was deciding what should we do with this place in a harbor, which is the front door to Baltimore for obviously for the ships and for others that are coming in. And if you obviously watch the sporting events that are in Baltimore, the shot that is most shown is out in a harbor, because 40 years ago, when we redid the harbor, it was, well, it's a jewel. And it was something that across the country, frankly, across the world, others began to imitate. We'll even take credit for the Sydney Opera House harbor, but many others, New York City and across the United States, people redid their harbors to redo what we've done in Baltimore. We have the aquarium at one end, and we have the National Science Center at the other end, and people just found what we had done here, which create not something that was necessarily about commerce, but was a public square for the citizens of Baltimore, as well as for those who were visiting us. We could all come together at the Inner Harbor to gather, to talk, to be entertained, to have fun. There, of course, were the kiosks that are here, the pavilions that were put here about 40 years ago by a visionary at that time. But there was a part of a master plan for the harbor. And that master plan included different events that would take place here. We used to have a city fair, and the city fair was here. And by the way, just recently, during the past Christmas season, I came down to the harbor area, because people were telling me, and I've heard over and over again, that nobody comes to the harbor anymore, that it's unsafe, that people don't want to come down here anymore, and that there was nobody here. And yet, that particular time that I came in the last Christmas season, first of all, there's a skating rink that was put up temporarily, but there were so many people on the skating rink, you could hardly skate. It was just overwhelming. And then I walked a little bit down to the German Christmas village that had been set up here. And there were thousands of people milling around the Christmas village. And, I was hungry that day, but I couldn't eat because the lines were so long and I was impatient. So I wanted to see the entire Christmas village before it closed for the evening. And so I didn't get a chance to eat. Having said that, and then there was a big Ferris wheel also going around that particular evening. My point of that story is that thousands of people come to Baltimore's Inner Harbor all the time, every week. And there's quite a bit going on, because again, this is our public square. This is where many of us in Baltimore come to gather, to renew our acquaintance with not only other citizens, but just the area in general. And then we meet a lot of visitors. When I was here that evening, there were people who obviously were from places around the world who were here that evening. And we all had a good time. And that repeats itself daily, night after night during that Christmas season. I came back once or twice, and again, I saw the same crowds that were here. All of that is to say that what we should do is to return and keep our vision of a public square here in the harbor. That the quest to make the highest dollar commercially off of this public space is just the wrong way to go. We don't need huge, towering buildings that are here to make money. Money making is a great American pastime. And I'm a capitalist, and I believe in it. I believe that we can do it a block away or across the street. You know, putting huge towers on this public square, by the way, this is public land. A private developer would lease land to do a few things to support the public square, just as Jim Rouse did 40 some years ago when he put a couple of pavilions up here, which had food vendors and some artwork, etc., that people, as they're visiting, could stop by and get a bite to eat, a drink, or buy some collectible of Maryland, a collectible of Baltimore. They could buy crabs. They could buy not live crabs, but medallions. Or they could buy an Oriole T-shirt, or at that time, a Baltimore football team T-shirt. And so we would be happy to do that. But to suggest that we take all height restrictions off of the master plan for this inner harbor makes no sense to anyone but someone who wants to make the highest commercial dollar off of this, our public square. So we restricted the height limit to approximately what two-story pavilions would be, 50 feet or so, some 40 years ago. And to now ask to release all height restrictions to infinity, not just to a point certain, makes no sense. It makes no sense architecturally. No one says, let's put our tallest buildings on the front row. No one says to do that anywhere that I've heard of. You usually step back from your front row to the next row to the next row. It gets a little higher, so everyone behind still has a full view, in this case, of the harbor, the water. And people should see that. To put up very, 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 very tall 35-story buildings in front of other buildings that are behind it, and to block their view is somewhat un-American, truthfully, because in American architectural and planning, we don't do that. We don't put our tallest buildings on the front row. Now, I want to say that I am a supporter of redeveloping our inner harbor space. I am absolutely a big supporter of that, and the developer has done good work in the city. So I know, beyond the city, the developer has done good work across the country and other places in the world. So I know that the developer has the skill to do great work right here in our inner harbor. I know that the developer does. I think just what has become mixed is the will to make the highest dollar versus doing what is in the interest, the best civic interest of Baltimore and its citizens.
Thank you. That was very thorough, and I really appreciate your time sharing your thoughts with the public.
Yes,
thanks for being with us.
I'm going to make a pun. I tried to cover the entire waterfront.
That was a good pun. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I appreciate it.